on Supercars, and the event that was Pukekohe because it's the last one.
Mm.
What do you think, Tristan?
Oh, I was a bit almost emotional, to be honest. I had actually mixed emotions. The racing was next level. It was unbelievable.
Have you been
And
there before?
I have, yeah, I went a few times with Dad, but I was pretty young. I don't really remember it,
Yeah.
but I do remember just about watching it every year on TV and always just, looking up to some of the Kiwi gods that have driven around that racetrack. And they said it, I think, on Sunday, just the amount of talent that has raced around that racing circuit. Obviously, Greg Murphy probably being the forefront of my mind. And just some of the memories around that racetrack from over the years. Something came up on my Instagram the other day of, I think it was Glenn Seaton got taken out by maybe Russell Ingall, and Dad was caught up in it. And I was like, that's
Oh, really?
just so cool,
That's
Um,
awesome.
and it's just like that's just the heritage and the history of the place, and it's just got so much of it. And just the emotion of all the drivers was, yeah, pretty daunting, I guess, because it was just like we're never going to see a race here again, and it was pretty sad.
What was the thing? Yeah, they're shutting it down for development, aren't they?
Uh, in inverted brackets, they're shutting it down to expand the racing track grandstands, and then they're shutting it down for housing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, which
Well,
is
I think
really
I think the horse racing track that's there isn't really booming anymore, which is probably the bigger moneymaker.
Mhm.
I mean, I have mixed feelings about Pukekohe because I know the history and I know the mystique and the legend of it. And then on the other side, I know that there are two circuits I would consider in New Zealand to be a lot better than Pukekohe just in
Yeah.
terms of layout. Like, what is it? Hampton Downs and Highlands are two
Yeah.
awesome tracks. And I think they're going to take the New Zealand round to Hampton Downs, which
I'd
is
say
also,
that's where they go.
well, that's owned by Tony Quinn, who also owns the majority of Triple Eight now.
Yep.
So it makes sense. But he owns both the tracks, and one's on the North Island, one's on the
I
South
think
Island.
one of the things that you'll find is that, and it'd be like getting rid of Spa. It'd be like getting rid of Nürburgring. I know we've got those tracks in New Zealand, the Hamptons Down, and I know you just said it, but I just escaped my mind. Highlands, yeah.
Yeah.
You got these tracks that are there that are awesome to have these, world-class facilities, but you've got the heritage at Pukekohe, and all the locals know that when the supercars come, they come to Pukekohe. And I know the racing on the weekend, like, it was unreal.
Yeah, it was probably the best racing we've seen nearly all year, I think. And
yeah, it'd be pretty close to it.
Like in terms of even the spread of the podiums and who looked competitive, like there was all your front runners were there and mixed up in all the races.
Yeah, they all got a podium, didn't they? Will,
I think
Davison,
they all got podiums.
SVG, Chaz,
Mostert,
Cam.
I don't know if Di Pasquale did.
No, he didn't because he got
Davo got one on the Saturday.
Yeah.
And then he had a shocker on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double transit through pit lane.
Yeah.
Actually, triple transit.
Triple transit.
You gotta love that. Yeah. But yeah, like in terms of, well, a couple of years ago they did that Auckland street race, and that failed miserably, and that's why they went back to Pukekohe. So I feel like convincing the locals to make the track is going to be the biggest challenge for supercars now. I mean, it's never nice to see a track that's so steeped in mystique closed, and I feel like it'd be the same thing even if like Sandown was to be closed, because they're sort of like they're a very similar complex, and they
I think Sandown will head down that track one day, and that is
I think so too. Like I think the writing's on the wall for Sandown, really.
But they signed on for another year next year, so hopefully, I think the people in Victoria just need to go. Just
that's right.
Sell that place out, and get the people that want to sell that complex to realize just how big.
Motorsport as well, Tristan. I feel like ever since they've taken the Sandown 500 from Sandown, they haven't given the fans a good enough reason to go back, like in terms of
What's
like
the point?
yeah, but like if you look
You
at
know,
like Sydney Motorsport Park or even Perth, both those tracks are struggling a bit. They give them super nights. Why can't you give a super night to Sandown in Melbourne? Give the Melbourne fans a super
like
night. That's one
the
of the best races of the year.
sprinting at Sandown is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And the
It's
reason
shit.
why I say this is because all the co-drivers were there. They had to have a compulsory session on the
Yeah,
Friday for the co-drivers. So
yeah.
all the co-drivers were there. Why not do a 3-race series where, you know, you've got the sprint series, the sprint series and then the endurance championship? Why not? Like, you got one race at Bathurst. Half these guys have done half an hour in a car if they're lucky in a supercar.
Yeah,
That's if they're lucky.
yeah.
The ones that are wild cards are rocking up to Bathurst, literally never driving a main game supercar.
Dude, look at
Yeah, massively undercooked.
Greg Murphy hasn't driven a supercar like in
In
anger in nearly a
3 years.
decade.
Yeah.
Same as that's
Surely
insane.
that's not safe, right?
Oh,
But that's what I mean. Like, you're going to put these guys on the grid. And I mean, I'm all for more cars on the grid. But, like, it's got to be in retrospect. Like, these guys can't jump into a supercar for the first time, in some cases ever, and expect to go around a place like Bathurst, which is one of the most intimidating racetracks on the planet, and expect to go well. Or expect to be safe or keep it off the walls.
but it's not even. It's even simpler than that, Tristan. If you think about it, like you think about the layout of Sandown, it's not that difficult. Like it's a box with a few little indents, right? So that track lends. That's what it really is. But like that track lends itself to an endurance race where strategy, tire wear, you know, a bit of weather comes into play. But I feel like they sort of look at the tracks. They want to put obviously the Gold Coast is an endurance, which is awesome.
Is that this year, though?
Yeah, it's this year. So they've got the Gold Coast
So the
after
co-drivers
Bathurst this
are
year.
there?
Yeah, so the co-drivers are there.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
But to slap the like just a sprint race at Sandown is sort of like, oh, we want to have the track there. The fans like the track, but we're not going to think about what is sort of in the best interest of the track. Like,
I reckon Barbagallo, Sandown, Bathurst, and Gold Coast would make for a really good endurance championship.
But even if they had Barbagallo, Sydney Motorsport Park, and Sandown as like a small super night championship, you know, a super night cup, have one in each state. Because it's how many races is there in Queensland as well? There's Gold Coast,
Townsville, QR. Is that back on the thing? I can't remember.
Yeah, QR was it? We raced at QR this year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did already. Yeah.
I don't know if you could do a super night at QR. I don't know how far that is from suburbia, I suppose. But to sort of think about like just giving each state like one event that is that sort of super night big bash cricket kind of feeling. So they work every time.
Yeah, I reckon. Oh man, that'd be so hard to say Gold Coast or Townsville, but Gold Coast is such a sick track. So Gold Coast, Newcastle, I reckon could be pretty cool for an endurance race. That they're not doing that again, though. I don't think.
Next year, it's the first race of next year.
Is it? Oh, good.
Yeah, it's the season.
Adelaide. Oh my God! Imagine Adelaide as an endurance race. Could you imagine?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that would be cool.
It's just I think the carnage is what scares them.
Yeah, I love that though. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just everyone get spare chassis for that weekend. Then
talking about chassis, Will Brown versus Mark Winterbottom. I mean, at first it didn't look too bad, but then the consequences of a somewhat silly action have got far-reaching sort of ramifications, and then even I feel like even the supercars, what's the word?
Judiciary.
Not the judiciary, but like after the fact, they had an extended sort of video of the two guys having an argument in the pit lane. And I thought, this doesn't look brave. Number one, because they're probably going to be dropping a few F-bombs and, you know, and they didn't actually.
They definitely did. Oh, yeah.
I couldn't hear one. I was listening really hard.
Couldn't hear
as well.
because they were talking over it, but
they
did another one later where they weren't talking as much and they were definitely throwing them out.
Yeah, so, but like for us, I don't think we need to see that.
Oh, I did. I've got to really be careful with my words.
No, just say it, mate.
You don't have to. No one listens to this yet.
If I'm gonna just say it, I think Mark Winterbottom should go on a holiday.
Oh,
I think that was
actually,
one of the most disgusting things I've seen in motorsport for quite some time.
I actually agree with you on that, to be honest, and I don't say that lightly, because he's a sort of an elder statesman of the sport. But in like retrospect, you think about it, his time at Team 18 has not been what it was cracked up to be at all. Realistically, I think, and he's just got an extension, so I was a bit surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, honestly.
But I mean, like Scott Pye seems to be better than him at most events that he doesn't get screwed himself. And then the excuse of sort of a bit of a bump and run because of what happened down at the hairpin before, I thought was so weak, because in the replay, it's sort of a bit of rubbing is racing. And then the only thing I feel that justifies the situation, that I don't think he thought that the consequences are going to be that dire. But man,
I don't think anyone would going into a corner like that, and it's quite evident that he came off the curb. But
but realistically,
the way he said it in the first interview was that
too matter of fact.
He doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know who he hit, and he actually wasn't sure if he ever made contact with someone.
And he hadn't seen the vision.
He said, I might have locked wheels with someone. I'm not sure who it was. And then we see the vision, and like he even comes out and says after the fact that I got hit into this corner, I got hit into this corner, and I got hit into this corner, and then so I hit him off. You know,
and like, dude, like, you're racing in a scrum.
He just said to us that he didn't know who hit him, that he wasn't sure if he made contact, and that he wasn't sure if he even collected wheels. And he wasn't even sure who the driver is. And then in the next time he talks to us, he's saying that, like,
he knows exactly what happened.
Payback for what happened in the other three corners. And it's like, to me, that's clear intent that he's taking him out deliberately. I'm not saying that he purposely put him in the fence and caused that crash. I don't think any driver would intentionally do that, especially on that corner. That's so fast. But there was one thing that, I mean, it copped a lot of slack, was the Barry Ryan shoving Mark out of the way. And I think, like, he might be in a bit of trouble for that. Probably rightfully so, but I think if you could, you know, think from their point of view, where they're this close to Bathurst, they've got to either rebuild build a brand new car.
They haven't got time to fix that car, that's for sure.
Will Brown almost went to hospital. That was a 56G crash. So I spoke to Will since, and he said that was the single biggest crash of his entire career, and that he's lucky to be here. So, you know, a crash of that magnitude definitely sparked some flames. And I can see why the guys at Erebus are so fired up over that, and they did not want, despite what Will said, that he wants him to come in and say sorry, that they didn't even want him there. They couldn't stand the sight of him, and that him being there was making things worse.
So, well, Barry Ryan called for them to cancel his license, essentially. So
I agree. I think they should after that. Maybe not cancel it, but good. But definitely
I feel he should serve a suspension.
Yeah, not cancel it, but suspend him. Definitely.
I mean, I feel like the whole Barry Ryan said that he called up the Team 18 management and said, we don't want him walking down here. It's not going to do any good. No. So then for him to walk down there after he probably heard that message, I mean, the shove thing I don't even care about as well. I don't think if it's that heated we should see it at all. I'm happy to hear the driver's view on it. We hear one, we hear the other. You know, we're fans. We don't need to see everything, especially film it. And if it's fine, show us the vision afterwards. I'm fine with that. But sort of in the heat of the moment, I don't think it adds anything to the race that was going on, number one, or the race that just finished, number one. I don't think it really added to the sort of farewelling of the event, which is what we were doing. And it made Barry Ryan look like a bit of a jackass, but I could understand.
It did, and I don't think that in this case. Yeah, I don't think that in this case they should be seen as the clowns. I think in honest in my honest opinion, and I know I said I'd be careful with my words, but my honest opinion, Mark Winterbottom was 100% to blame for that incident, and he should be the one that should be made to look bad in front of the camera, not the other way around. And I know that, like I said, shoving and physical contact in this sport's not acceptable, but I mean, if that were me, you know, I'd be finding it pretty hard not to get pretty angry about something like that. I'm certainly not a violent person. I'm not saying that I'd go and punch someone or push them out of the way, but it'd be very hard for me not to say something that I might later on regret, especially if there's a camera in my face.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have any final words on that whole incident, H?
Yeah, you go, H. I was going to say, I was just going to testament again to the safety of the cars. I mean, the fact that he withstands a 56G impact and then walks away with it with basically a bit of, you know, he was a bit wounded. You know, a few years ago, we could have potentially been
insane.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the same thing, because the crash between Max and Lewis last year was a 56G. So we know how insane that one was. So, yeah, the fact that he's okay is the main thing, I guess, and a testament to Supercars.
I feel like the insane thing that he hit driver door, though, didn't he? Was it driver side door?
He hit driver door, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Same as Anton, though. Anton had a pretty big crash, and he hit driver side door as well.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
There was him. He had a big crash. JC had a big crash in the last race.
JC's was huge.
I mean, talking about Pukekohe, here's one thing. That track, if it goes bad, it goes so bad for the cars, especially for a flyaway round. I mean, I don't know if that has anything to do with the change of venue. I don't think it does. But 100%, like we saw I think JC was involved in 2 accidents, but thank God Tickford have 4 cars and so much spare parts going with them. But I mean, like,
did you hear what Tim Edwards said?
I didn't, but he always says crackers.
Like, he had something about, you know, a pretty expensive weekend for us in what's been a pretty expensive year, and
did he?
You know, it was going on about some bloody monologue about how expensive it's been, and I'm just thinking, like, if you put the right drivers in the car, your damage bill, you know, it gets smaller and smaller. And I'm not saying anything against those drivers. I think they're all pretty talented, but you know, you can't deny the fact that there's been a lot of Tickford crashes this year.
Yeah, because Randall had a massive one a few months ago.
Randall had one at
last week at Darwin, or was it at the Bend? Was it the Bend? Where was they racing?
He's had a couple.
And they had one at the Bend, JC and Randall, where JC went across the grass and hit Randall. And I think they had another one at the Bend. I think you're right.
That's right. When Heimgarter drove straight up his backside.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
And I think Cam had a decent shunt at the start of the year, and obviously Jake's, you know, around that mid pack, so he's going to get belted up a few.
Yeah, Jake's been belted up a bit. All I'm going to say is no team has any right to complain about crash damage if Brad Jones Racing isn't. So everyone just relax. You haven't got a Brad Jones Racing bill, so chill out, guys. Okay, I think that's a good segue to us.
I just want to point out that,
dude,
as an Aussie, I was actually really happy to see 2 Kiwis on the podium on Sunday.
I feel like it really needed it, to be honest.
I think so. Yeah, it was the great send off. I thought just before we put the nail in the coffin on Pukekohe, I had to get that out. That it was so cool to see Heimgartner on the podium, and Gizzy's drive was flawless. Honestly, that was probably one of his best.
He's performing really well.
He's performing at a level that no one can really match, to be honest. Right. And I mean, at the start of the year, we're talking about how these other teams could stop him, and realistically, I think that there's just no stopping him. He'll stop when he either leaves, like Scotty Mack, or he gets bored.
Yeah.
But until then, I just think that even the way when you watch him in the car, like, no driver is busier on the brake bias and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know that every corner he's doing everything he can to extract the maximum. And I think that's the difference between him and, you know, just a mid-pack driver, or even the best of the rest. Like, I'm sure they're all trying as hard, but he's so in tune with just the biases and all that kind of stuff.
I've been quite fortunate to have gone out in a hot lap in a car with him at
Yeah, you have.
Norwell, and that was in itself was an unbelievable experience because it was in the wet and it was a road car, and this car was pretty much borderline slick tires and probably shouldn't even be road legal. And he's just bored and went, "I'm going for a drive. Does anyone get in the passenger seat?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, that's right." He's gonna go and Shane Van Gisbergen the absolute hell out of this thing, and he did. And it
That's
was
his favorite conditions, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And
Slicks
it was
in the
honestly
wet.
just like he's sitting there, and it is like honestly the track is flooding. Like you can't see the road, and he's just one arm on the wheel, drifting it sideways, clicking it in, handbrake here and there. And I'm just like absolutely bricking myself. But it was one of the most like unbelievable things I've ever seen because he just has so much control in the car. And then I was fortunate enough last year to, share a team with him at Bathurst and just to see how he works behind the scenes, not even in the car, just his knowledge in data and breaking down corners and
feedback
just
and all that kind of
racing
stuff.
knowledge. We go out into practice one. He'd never driven a production car before. Never been on that tire, whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he goes, "All right, you, me, and Beric, I think it was at the time, we're going to go out and go 3 wide across the top of the mountain to put a block on the rest of the field so that we can at least get 2 flying laps before we catch traffic." And I'm thinking like, yeah, I get that, but like we're at the front of the field anyway. And so what that did was by us actually slowing down that much, it allowed everyone, the 70 cars that we had in production cars, it allowed all 70 cars to get out of the pits by the time we even got to turn 3. And we were going that slow. Like it was actually ridiculous how slow we were going. I think it took us like 10 minutes to do 2 laps, honestly. And by the time we got across the straight, we had a whole track free to do whatever we wanted with it. And I was behind him. And I was just so cool to see where he could put that car because I was trying to rag the absolute wheels off that thing to try and keep it there. And he's just sailing off in the distance. I'm going, this guy has never driven a BMW and he's just driving away on his first ever lap. So it was just like, it's just an unbelievable mind that he has for motorsport. And it's just so cool to see what he's able to do in a supercar, in a car, in a rally car. Whatever he wants to do, really.
I was going to say, yeah, he's good at rally too. So.
Yeah, rally car, drifting, RCs, whatever it is, mate. Anything with an engine.
If and I'm not saying I don't want to see him in this championship anymore, but if you were to have your pick of where you would want to see him, like if he was to go do something full time somewhere else,
F1. I think he'd be too tall, but
I don't even think he would like the bureaucracy of that sport.
I think Indy, like Scotty.
Potentially Indy, but I just wonder if maybe he's been a bit unfortunate with opportunity.
I think now the door would be a lot more open because of how good Scotty Mac's been straight away. Like that whole blueprint has been blown wide. I don't think he wants to go there.
No.
I think he loves supercars.
He has any connections to do it. If there's maybe the IndyCar guys are looking at him, but I think more so the Europeans are looking at him because he's best mates with Max Verstappen, so that always gets a lot of traction. And
I would definitely like to see him racing GT in Europe with the sort of like the best of the best, like in DTM or something like that.
Yeah, well, we saw Chaz do that with the BM, and he won Daytona.
That's right, but the difference with DTM is that there's no co-drivers; it's just like sprint races. Yeah. So to see him do something,
Albon did last year, right?
Yep,
that's right. So so to see him doing something like that, I would just want to see him do it just to see sort of how he would stack up.
He would. He would.
I have no doubt that he would probably be one of the best, if not the best, out of the gate. Because I think his feeling is impeccable. But you're like, for the event, it was so good to see him in that last race. I think it was so good to see Baumgartner probably have his best event of the year, and he's really been building this year towards like as we've been going along. I would have loved to see him win a race though, to be honest, because I feel like he deserves it.
There was a moment where he was in the box seat when Gizzy and Cam came together, and it was just like, oh, I'm Button's going to win this race.
just sail down the inside, mate. Yeah. You got it. But I think he was a bit wiser than us.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I mean, what a great event.
I agree.
It's just to farewell Pukekohe, and I mean, if we never see it again, thank you for the memories.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't been a track with probably that's definitely the track from New Zealand that everyone knows about, and it never disappointed in terms of like a dull event or a dull race.
I certainly don't remember one that was dull.
No, 100%. Back to you, Harry.
Look, I think we'll leave it there, boys. I think we've covered everything throughout the week, unless you guys have something you want to throw out there.
No,
I just think what an awesome weekend of motorsport, and I'm pretty fortunate to being able to be on the couch and watch it all.
100%, mate. 100%. So yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Keep liking, subscribing, all that kind of stuff, interacting with the socials. I'm not as good at finishing this as Anthony is, but thanks for listening. And
he has his end spiel down to a T now.
He does, and I was listening to it the other day. He's just on point. So.
It's like a teacher doing the course for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I reckon. Well, I'm a teacher, but I'm obviously not as good. So, thanks for listening. As I said, keep liking, subscribing, and Tristan, Joey, thanks for jumping on, boys.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, anytime. Thanks for having me on again.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, boys.